MISTI is USAID Afghanistan's Measuring Impacts of Stabilization Initiatives program. It's a third-party monitoring and evaluation program designed to look at stabilization trends and the impact of stabilization programming across Afghanistan. The program started in March of 2012. It's now June 2013, so we've been going for just over a year. The things that we've been tasked to do, apart from look at impact and performance of the stabilization programs, is to also create a community of practice of M&E practitioners. What we do is we hold quarterly summits in Kabul for all M&E practitioners and other interested parties, and we share best practices and lessons learned. That helps us avoid things like duplication of effort and helps avoid making the same mistakes with different programs. What's really exciting about what we're doing is that we're working in highly unstable environments. There's still conflict going on in a lot of the places where we work. And so what we have to do is we have to build methodologies and techniques for getting around all the issues that are associated with those types of environments. For our first baseline survey, we conducted just under 35,000 interviews in 83 districts across Afghanistan. In order to do that, we had to come up with very advanced sampling designs, and we had to come up with very rigorous forms of validation to be able to ensure that the fieldwork taking place was done so according to the methodologies we'd stipulated. We've currently got wave 2 of that survey in the field now, and we'll be interviewing about 38,000 respondents in that survey. What we then do with the data is very interesting. In order to measure stabilization, we have to create rather complex indices. And they look at a range of different topics which work into stabilization. Not just security, but we're looking at things like quality of life, economic activity, resilience. So this is probably the most comprehensive look at stabilization that's been attempted to date. Then, analytically, we have to create counterfactuals for the impact evaluation. Now we're in the process of testing methods for doing that at the moment. By counterfactual, I mean that we look at the stabilization districts, but we also have control districts or control areas or villages. We're not certain yet whether we're going to do it at village cluster level, at the individual village level. Looks like it may be the individual village level. But we find villages that have common characteristics. We call them matching criteria. And we pair match them. So one will be a control where no intervention is taking place, another will be a treatment village where interventions are taking place. And then we track people's perceptions and attitudes over time and see what the differences are between those two villages. And from that, we're able to deduce stabilization impacts. Also, and what's very exciting about what we're doing is we're not only just geospatially representing this data, we're also looking at trying to create temporal models. And by that, I mean using perception and attitude data to be able to predict behavior in the future. So we may look at a village and say, what is this village's receptivity to aid, for example? And we build very large, complex models that we're working with Yale University and also Princeton University's high-speed computing departments to be able to crunch this data, because it involves billions and billions of calculations. So at the end of the day, what we want to be able to do is not only provide information about the impacts of current programming and stabilization trends in the current sense, we want to be able to look forward so we can provide implementing partners with information that will be extremely useful for their planning. 6 months out, 1 year out. At the moment, we're testing these models. It'll take about 6 months before we know whether they'll work or not. All indications at the moment are that they're holding pretty true, and so we're optimistic.